let's say you own a rental property and one year it just doesn't perform well at all. Let's say you've lost 10 grand on it in whatever way. Let's assume cash flow. This can happen really at any time with a rental property, but this is especially a prominent issue since we just recently got out of the year 2020. And 2020, because of the eviction moratoriums and everything going on with the world, a lot of rental property owners really kind of got a swift kick. And so I recently heard somebody say, I lost 10 grand on my rental property. I don't know how you guys do this. I'm selling immediately. Got to get rid of the tenants. Oh, terrible loss. When I heard this person say that, like in the movies where there's like a sudden flashback, this flashback would be titled, let's see, 10 years ago for me, or 8 years ago or something. I was a newer rental property investor. I think I had been investing in properties for maybe about a year at this point. And I started investing pretty quick. I was trying to get as many properties as I could. And I had one particular property, which was odd because it was one of the nicest ones I had bought. By some freak of nature scenario, it ended up vacant for about 10 months, which was crazy. To this day, I don't know exactly what was going on. It was a bad property manager. The rental market where that particular house wasn't very strong, whatever. I had 10 months of vacancy. So that was, we'll call it $10,000 lost in cash flow. All the while I'm paying a mortgage. So I'll never forget, I was actually on a trip with some fellow real estate investors. And one of the guys who was really kind of my mentor at the time, I was kind of all up in arms of like, I got this property and it's been vacant for 10 months, it's 10K out of my pocket, and I was really kind of not only getting down on that property, but kind of getting down on real estate in general, because I was just seeing this loss, like, oh my God, this is terrible. And here I am getting in this industry, which is unpredictable and ugh. And he said, okay, I hear you. And I definitely understand your stress. But if I may, can I help maybe put some of this into perspective? And I was like, sure. So what him and I talked about is something that has stuck with me forever. Number one, and you can get a link to a video that I did about this in the comments. There are actually 5 profit centers to a rental property: cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits, equity build via mortgage paydown, and hedging against inflation. I'm not going to get into all of those here, but check out my video called The 5 Profit Centers of a Rental Property to understand each of those in greater detail. But the point is, if one of those profit centers falters in a year, and in this case, it was the cash flow profit center that that got messed up. I had just had a dog run into my foot. Sorry. In my case, it was a cash flow situation. It was 10 months of vacancy. I wasn't making cash flow. That's what felt like the total loss. So what he really pointed out is we actually broke down the other 4 profit centers. And I realized in that particular case, the appreciation on that property had been huge in that time frame. So I had actually made a huge amount of money on that property. And then, tax benefits and all that kind of stuff. And we actually sat down and really did the math, and it's like, oh, not only was I not at a loss for this property, I was actually in a major profit situation, and it just didn't happen to involve cash flow for those 10 months. So that was point number 1, is there are more than one profit centers to a rental property, and you have to understand that. So if you have a bad cash flow year, that doesn't automatically mean the property is negative. The second thing, and we kind of talked about this then, but now fast forward 8-9 years later of me having all my properties, a huge thing that I've learned about rental properties is they are a long-term strategy. It is not a day by day, it is not a year by year type of thing. I've known so many people to buy rental properties, and let's say one year they have excess repair costs or excess who knows what cost or whatever. It doesn't matter. Everything I'm saying too is contingent on you having bought a smart rental property in the first place. Not all properties are going to be profitable rental properties. So everything I'm saying is assuming you bought a property that is safely projected to be a profitable rental property. That's a different conversation. But, this doesn't go for a bad investment. But going back to a good investment property, it's a big difference between 1 year and say 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. 1 year's fate of a rental property, let's say it is negative. Let's say the 5 profit centers combined do not give you a positive return 1 year. That in no way whatsoever dictates the level of success for that property over 10, 20, and 30 years. This is not an overnight thing. Whereas like flipping a property, what the value of that property is in that moment for the most part matters. Like you're kind of talking about like a 4 to 6 month window right there. But rental properties are long term. So you have to remember that, because what happens in 1 year is not representative necessarily of what's going to happen over the course of the lifetime of that rental property. So my advice when I heard this guy, he was just in shambles about this 10K loss. And absolutely, this is not to take away from the strain of that, because especially if you have a mortgage payment on that property and you're having to pay out of pocket for that mortgage payment every year, yes, it is absolutely a stressful situation. But I told him my encouragement was, if you absolutely hate having a rental property, which could be the case, then yeah, sell it, do your thing. But if your only reason for wanting to sell that property is because of this 10K loss, I really encourage you to kind of pause, take the step back, just like my mentor did with me, work the numbers, like really analyze your full profit based on all those profit centers and see how much of a loss you're really at. If, not that it brings your whole 10K back, but that loss is going to be a write-off on your taxes also. So work the details of those numbers to see where you really are with it. And then again, always remember, even if there's some kind of catastrophe in 1 year of a rental property, it does not necessarily tell you the fate of that investment property and the returns, the quality of that investment as a whole. You have to be patient with them. You've got to give them room. They're going to ebb and flow. You've got to let that happen. Of course, take action, stay in control of your investment, do what you can. It's not to say you can have as many 10K loss years as you want, not the case. But like, if you just have one, if you have a freak year like 2020, just breathe. It's okay. Do what you have to do. And just remember, you're in this for the long haul, and it could end up still being incredibly profitable.